Hello, I've got a great video for you today. This is a part 2 of a 3-part series about mesh filters and them over top of your fans. This one is about it being in pull. So we got a fan, or we got a filter, we have a spacer, or something separating the increase in the distance between the fan and the filter, and what does that equal in terms of its airflow? So this one is significantly more consolidated than the previous test, where I just tested fewer different fans because I was able to establish some general trends in the other one. So we got, sorry, those are not labeled. It's from before I should have known to label the graphs. So I apologize for that. CFM is vertical, noise is horizontal. These noise levels are relatable to the previous testing with the filter directly over top, but they're not relatable to my general testing for normal fan apparatus, as well as the CFM values are related to that set of testing as well. So we got no filter. So then we have the graphs. And sorry, you're going to notice that it just updated. And we got no thickness. So this would be just the mesh filter directly over top of the fan, 0 inches. Medium pulling through, 0.3 inches. And medium thick, which is at 0.6 inches. And you'll see how it was tested. I know it's very janky, but it worked well enough. I need a 3D printer. Anyways, P28, you can see that adding extra thickness helped improve the performance quite significantly. Now the medium pull was kind of interesting. Now the anemometer is accurate within plus or minus 0.1 meter per second, so I think that this is pretty close to within error once you calculate out CFM. So CFM is different than meters per second, which is the accuracy range. So I know cubic feet per minute is different than meters per second, different sets of units. I have a conversion factor that I use mathematically, so everything stays consistent that way. That it's automatic. And none is obviously the best. When we take a look at the F12, none is doing significantly better. And once we add the thick filter, it actually lines up very, very closely. Mind you still see a performance drop. And the medium thick is just a hair behind, and having it right over top, very significant performance drop. Then we got the A12X25 and none, medium pull, no extra thickness, so it's right up against, and the thick. So here the thick and the medium actually performed near and identically. I know that the performance looks much different. When you calculate the CFM, it's a volume, so the values look bigger, so they look drastically different than when you do it in meters per second. Another key takeaway before we move on is the noise levels that we're seeing. So for like the P28, we see the fan get quite a bit noisier, while for the F12, we actually see it get a little bit quieter. And for the A12X5, it gets, when you add the spacer in front of it, the noise level becomes equivalent, even though the performance drops. But at a given RPM, it would remain the same. While without any spacer, it gets quite a bit noisier. P28 thin filter. P28 medium filter. P28 thick pull. A12X25 pull. A12X25 medium pull. A12X25 thick pull. NF F12, no thick. NF F12 medium, pull. NF F12, thick pull. So I just pulled up a generic picture of a PQ curve. So we have static pressure and airflow. When pressure drops, airflow increases. When airflow decreases, pressure increases. So what we're doing with these tests, by having that filter over top of it, we're actually increasing more or less the pressure, even though we're doing a pull configuration. It's causing a negative pressure in front of the fan. So thus reducing the airflow and relying more on the fan's capability in terms of generating pressure in that curve. Now a little bit of a visual representation of what's going on. So we have the filter directly over top of the fan. The air tries to go directly through the filter and into the fan, where it's got a lot of impedance by that filter. It's restricting the airflow very significantly, unless it's the most porous filter in the world, and then it's not really collecting any dust. And then this will get very clogged with dust over time. Actually that'll happen with any of these, but it's heavily restricting the airflow because there's no room for the air to expand because it's restricting the airflow. And then when we add a slim spacer, there's a little bit of room for the air to get through the filter and then spread out, so that performance improves and noise levels will reduce ever so slightly. Because this air gets through the filter and then can stretch out after it goes through each of the little porous holes in it, spread out again. And when you have more space, so a bigger spacer, well, then there's more air for it to expand, further improving airflow and reducing that noise. So in effect, kind of like this, except this is backwards from the picture I could find on the internet. So the air goes through a tight restriction and then has room to expand around it before going out through the fan. And then the performance difference performs 40% PW fat signaling, CFM reduction. So this is with the filter in place divided by the no filter performance. So for the F12, we're looking at 80% for thick, 78% for a medium. And again, medium is 0.3 inches, the thick is 0.6 inches, and none is none. For the A12X25, almost identical performance, although it does better with the filter directly over top of it. And then the P28 actually had the worst performance at the given level, and actually kind of ironically did better with it directly over top than up against. Then at 60%, you can see that the performance actually is pulling back, that there's a reduction in the overall efficiency. So before it was at 86 for thick, now it's at 84, and for the medium 0.3, it was at 73, now it's at 68. So it's actually reducing in performance. So it basically has to do with how air expands. Air is a compressible fluid, so when it goes through the holes, it's compressing and then it expands. If there isn't enough time for it to fully expand, the fan is not going to be able to fully utilize it, which is why you're going to see that performance drop. And that's actually what the restriction is doing. And as we move up to 80%, we continue to see that drop in performance. And at 100%, actually, it isn't quite as bad. So that's kind of funny. Don't know why. It defies the trend I was just talking about, doesn't it? The P28 holds true to that, though. The A12X25 and the F12 do not. Next, the average. So pull configuration, medium, 0.3, thick, 0.6. And at 40%, we saw 60 or 0.64, so 64%, 63%, then 60, and then it went up to 65. Woohoo! Again, 100% is defying the odds. For thick, 79, 78, 74, and then 79 to find the odds. While when it's up against, it's holding exactly true to what I would say. Then we have the noise level that they were generating. So no filter in blue, it in pull up against the fan in red, green is a medium thick, and purple is the thickest setting, 0.6 inches. So you can see that having that spacer drops the noise level back to pretty much stock fan, while having a filter directly over top of the fan just makes it very, very noisy. So having a little bit of space between your fan and the filter really will go a long way in helping make things quieter and obviously reducing dust getting into your system. And well, you're going to still lose some performance, but not as much performance as having those filters. Like I had the Corsair 550D computer case, and the mesh filter sat right over the top of the fans. I never ran those fans over 50% because they're just so noisy. And the other reason for that case is it had a front door panel. Hang on. I'm talking about it, okay? Corsair 550D had this door, so the air would actually enter the case through these little slots on the sides, and then there's this door in front of it, and then so there's just a tiny bit of space here, like a half inch or so, before it turns in there, and then the fans are sitting. Oh, they don't have enough pictures. But like right behind there with a mesh filter. But anyways, it had that mesh sitting right on top of the fans, and it just made it very noisy when running the fans too hard, too fast. Back to our originally scheduled program. 60% pitot fan signaling, noise level in decibels, and we see that having it over the mesh over top of the fan is the noisiest, and having that little bit of space just brings it back closer to normal. There are a couple exceptions here, where the P28, I think it just spins so fast that becomes noisy, while with it over top, it just actually blocks the fan, so it isn't really moving much air and actually makes it quiet in a sense. That's the only reason I can think of that result for the P28. I don't know. I'd have to think about why and a way to actually test that. When we're at 80%, the trends are holding, more or less exactly the same as what we saw previously. At 100%, we're seeing the exact same trends. Don't need to, beat the dead horse about it. And here's the raw data for the spacing. We got the P28, the HFX5, and the NF-F12 for 40, 60, 80. None, pull against, medium, pull thick. And then you're getting a sneak peek at the next set of data. Anyways, if you've got suggestions for more videos for me to take a look at, experiments to run, things you're curious about computer cases, please leave them in the comment section down below. I will try to think about a way to test it. These are one-off tests for me, so I'm figuring out the best way to present it. So if you got suggestions for me on better ways to present, please go ahead and leave it. I'm here to learn and trying to always improve the way I present the data information to all of you. If you like what I'm doing in terms of overall with this channel, the experiments, testing fans, that kind of thing, I encourage you to, I know it's a hard thing to ask, think about joining me as a Patreon member. The money from that is going into this channel to buy better testing equipment, buy test system, to buy everything to help fund this channel. I'm not looking to be, I don't know, Linus Tech Tips or a Gamer's Nexus, but I am looking for it to be at a break-even point. Anyways, I do thank each and every one of you for watching, and my Patreon members who are there. I thank each and every one of you because you guys are awesome. It's actually gone a long way in making it possible so far. And well, anyways, thank you very much for watching. I have a part 3 coming up. I hope you tune in for that, and I'll see you next time here on Computer Tech and More.